Welcome to our channel. Today we're diving into impactful policy changes that could boost household income for millions of Americans. Because let's be honest, the American dream is starting to feel like it's trapped in a multi-level marketing scheme. You know, the kind where the only people getting rich are the ones at the very top, and everyone else is stuck hawking essential oils and questionable leggings just to make ends meet. But it doesn't have to be this way. There are real, concrete steps we can take to level the playing field and ensure that everyone has a shot at a decent life. These are practical, evidence-based policies that have worked in other developed countries. So buckle up, because we're about to embark on a wild ride through the exhilarating world of economic policy. Let's start with a policy that already exists but could use a serious upgrade: the Earned Income Tax Credit, or EITC. The EITC is designed to help low-income working families by giving them a tax break. Expanding the EITC, both by increasing the amount of the credit and making more people eligible, could provide a much-needed lifeline to millions of struggling families. We're talking about putting real money back in the pockets of people who actually need it. Next up, let's talk about the minimum wage, a term that apparently strikes fear into the hearts of CEOs and politicians everywhere. The federal minimum wage has been stuck at a paltry $7.25 an hour since 2009. Raising the minimum wage to a living wage would lift millions of Americans out of poverty and inject billions of dollars into the economy. It's a win-win, unless, of course, you're the CEO who has to forego your third yacht this year. Now let's talk about education. I'm talking about real quality education and training that can lead to good-paying jobs. Expanding access to affordable higher education, investing in vocational training, and supporting apprenticeship programs would equip workers with the skills they need to thrive in the 21st century economy. Because you know what's more expensive than investing in education? Dealing with the consequences of a workforce that's ill-equipped for the jobs of the future. Let's talk about unions, shall we? For some reason, the word union seems to evoke images of burly men in hard hats shaking down unsuspecting businesses. But the reality is, unions are simply groups of workers coming together to bargain for better wages, benefits, and working conditions. Strengthening unions by reducing barriers to unionization and enforcing labor laws would empower workers and help close the wage gap. Because at the end of the day, a rising tide lifts all boats, and by boats I mean wages, and by rising tide I mean collective bargaining power. Let's move on to another critical issue: affordable housing. In many cities across America, finding an affordable place to live is about as likely as spotting a unicorn riding a Pegasus while juggling chainsaws. Increasing funding for public housing, implementing rent control measures, and providing rental assistance to low-income families can help ensure that everyone has a safe and affordable place to call home. Because, let's be honest, affordable housing shouldn't be an oxymoron. Now, let's address the elephant in the room, or should I say the elephant in the emergency room: healthcare costs. In America, getting sick can be financially devastating, and even having health insurance doesn't guarantee you won't be drowning in medical debt. Expanding Medicaid, negotiating drug prices, and allowing Medicare to negotiate drug prices can make healthcare more affordable and accessible for millions of Americans. Because healthcare shouldn't be a luxury only the wealthy can afford. Let's talk about infrastructure, shall we? No, I'm not just saying that because it's a meme. Investing in infrastructure isn't just about fixing crumbling roads and bridges. Improving public transportation, expanding broadband access, and investing in renewable energy can create jobs, reduce commuting costs, and bridge the digital divide. Because let's face it, our current infrastructure is about as reliable as a dial-up connection during a thunderstorm. And finally, let's talk about taxes. I know nobody likes to talk about taxes. But the reality is, our current tax system is about as fair as a rigged carnival game. Closing tax loopholes, implementing a wealth tax, and making the tax code more progressive can generate revenue to fund vital social programs and reduce income inequality. Because you know what's scarier than taxing the rich? Living in a country where the gap between the haves and the have-nots is wider than the Grand Canyon. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more insightful content. Let us know in the comments which policy change you think would make the biggest difference. Because at the end of the day, the power to create a more just and equitable society lies in our hands. It's time to stop accepting the status quo and start demanding better. Let's work together to build an America where everyone has the opportunity to succeed regardless of their zip code or the size of their bank account. Because remember, a rising tide lifts all boats, unless, of course, those boats are owned by corporations that have figured out how to game the system and avoid paying taxes.